Welcome back to Algebra 2, Chapter 8, Section 1 in this book. And we're going to talk about something you learned in a lot of this already in Algebra 1. Okay, so this is exponential functions. This part you might not have learned, but this part over here you probably did. Okay, so what it means is you have an equation, but instead of x being down in numerator land, where it's nice and normal, it's up in exponent land. So put this in your calculator. These are going to be things I want you just to do with your calculator, because it's really hard to be precise otherwise. You get weird little halves and stuff like that. So it's going to look like this. It's going to go up, 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 and it has a line that gets closer and closer and closer and closer to, but never touches, which is called an asymptote. That's fun to say. It won't touch it, and where you can find the asymptote, look on your calculator, is if you look under table, which is second of graph, it says error or little dashes or something. You can see where the asymptote is because the equation is undefined at that. So for this, my domain, my x's is all real numbers, or all reals as we cool kids call it. But the range has to be greater than 0. The y's can go on forever, but they cannot touch 0 because it's an asymptote. Alright, so I want you to graph these using your calculator. I want you to get the points for your graph, your if-then chart. You can use trace or you can use table, either one. I have some kids who like table. A lot of times you have to mess with setting the steps on the table. So I have other kids who find this frustrating. You do you. Whatever you like better. Alright, so like this, you would put it in your calculator exactly. 1/2 times 3. Now, you either have to use that alpha y equals enter to do a fraction, or you're going to need to put that in parentheses. Otherwise, your calculator has a hard time not understanding that 3 is not in the denominator but the numerator. To put the exponent x in, you just do the up arrow and then the x button. It'll look kind of like that. Here's one, it's -3/2 x. You got to get those parentheses, and notice it goes that way. It's going down instead of up. They're not all shaped like this. They can have horizontal and vertical. Remember we said H for horizontal and K for vertical, so I misspelled it this time. But if what this is and that is. So A is a number, you might multiply it to. B is the base, it's a number. The x is up here. If it has a plus or minus, that gives it a horizontal shift. Plus or minus k down here in numerator land, not exponent land, will give it a vertical up and down shift. So looking at this one, it is going to go, the horizontal is -1, so we do the opposite sign. It'll go over 1 that way. And then the vertical shift is 4, so it's going to go down 4 squares on your graph paper that way. So, but I want you to be able to do these on your calculator. So get it out, use it for your homework, make some pretty graphs, do me proud. Alright, there's growth equations. We learned one in Algebra 1, and it's you start with how much you've got, money in the bank, whatever. Then you do 1 plus the rate, it'll be the whatever percent you're getting, but you write it as a decimal. It's written as a decimal, and t is the time. If this was not a growth, if it was declining in value, it'd be minus the rate instead of plus. Okay? So we have a word problem in the book. They said our time was 3, our rate was 100%. So 100% is a decimal is 1.0. So we filled it in. That's what we started with, 1.313, and I think that's million. It was internet users or something. Then 1 plus 1 to the 3rd power, and then it was 10.5 million. So that's just like what we did in Algebra 1. But in Algebra 1, I told you you'll learn more formulas in Algebra 2. And today's that day. We're going to learn something called compounded interest. And what it is instead of just figuring out the interest one time a year, you do it more times during the year. And the more times that they do it, the more money you get. So sometimes they'll say, interest compounded quarterly. That means 4 times a year. Or sometimes daily. And you'll get more money. And so if the interest is compounded annually, you're not getting much. Okay? So we're starting with $1,000. We're putting it in our bank at 8% interest, and it's going to be compounded quarterly. So N is our number of times they're going to compound it. They're going to do it 4 times a year. Our time is 1 year, and we also multiply how many times they're doing it in a year up here. So we put all that in our calculator just like that, and we get at the end of the year, we're going to get $82.43 in interest. If they compound it more, you see they did it also in the book daily. Look at that, it's more money. Then if they only do it 1 time a year, it's less money. So make sure you can do those. We're going to learn even more formulas for growth and interest and stuff in this chapter. When it goes down, decline, it's usually called decay. So like you hear about radioisotopes decaying, this is the formula we would use, or these formulas, depending on if it's a growth or a decay. All right, and we'll talk about decay next time. Come back. It'll be exciting or decaying or something. Math is great.